So in this third expression of Virgo, we're discussing reorientation. In the first expression, we had a conviction of who we are and what to do and what was right and what was wrong, and we were really certain about that. But in the second expression, there was discovered this need for adapting. And now in the third one, we're studying reorientation. And we see that we come from a family line, and we are who we are within the context of that. And we have to reorientate both towards that transmission of lineage and also away from it at different times, so that we actually find ourselves where we are well placed. And I think what we're looking at with these 5 Sabian symbols within this expression is more to do with that, the inner sense of becoming a better person. We have this sense that Virgo wants to be perfect, and they go through a process of perfecting. And it is very noticeable that Virgo wants to do that for themselves. They like to do self-criticism, but really don't like other people doing it for them. They don't like to be criticized. And yet, this self-reflecting quality is made clear to us within this expression. We start with the boy molded in the aspirations of his mother. And it's a very big question, this one. We are trained, not only by mother, but by parents, to be like them. Even if they don't want that to happen, they're wise enough to realize that's not the best way to parent a child. Nevertheless, unconsciously, we're going to have nobody else to copy. And we become like our parents. And to some extent, of course that's inevitable, and to some extent it's healthy. It's training within the line. And yet, to some extent, it's not okay. The parent is inclined to live vicariously through the child. Whatever I haven't done as a parent, I want my boy to do for me. That's not right. It's not right at all. And we have to study the extent to which we have been bent off our own path, away from our own purpose, by the aspirations of our parents, inappropriate aspirations. It is not considered the thing to do anymore, to follow in your father's footsteps and take on his occupation, or to become like your mother, and so on. That was the way, and yet we're more enlightened in today's consciousness to realize that that may be an important contributor to the end result, but it's only a part of the training that we need, and we need to break away from that. When we move into relationship, and in the next degree, the 12th degree is talking about the bride with her veil snatched away. So then we're not talking about our relationship to parenting. We've got the next intimate connection, the bride, the husband and wife kind of connection. And snatching the veil away is a very deep metaphor within esoteric practice of revealing the arcanum, seeing the mystery below that which is veiling it. And we do that with people. When we, this husband has seen this bride and he sees only that she's beautiful and kind and soft and and he projects all of his images onto her of his idea of a perfect woman, much shaped by what he saw of his mother, to whom he was doing the same thing. So this particular individual, and it applies whether it's a woman or a man, but in this image we're talking about a man doing it to his bride. We want our mother to be the perfect mother, and so we see her as the perfect mother, notwithstanding her faults, and she responds to that, showing the best side of her, very likely. And this is true in courtship. The man will see this woman as the perfection of womanhood, and she'll respond to that, saying, "Oh yes, you're the first person to recognize that within me. Yes, I am that." And then the courtship ends and the marriage begins and the veil is snatched away. And we see in wedding ceremonies the bride wearing a veil, and it's snatched away. It's no longer the case that the image holds, and you see beneath the glamour and the illusion, you see the truth of the matter. And you get to see that you did project your version of a perfect partner onto your fiancé, and they're not like that. They're real people with faults, things that you really don't like. And in astrology, it's made very clear that the seventh house cusp, the cusp of one-to-one relationships, is also the place at which you experience your shadow nature most clearly. So in one sense, we've been given to understand through astrology that we marry that which will disclose to us the hidden part that we've hidden from ourselves and from other people, the shadow nature. And that's the purpose of relationship, to bring that out. And this whole process of seeing that your parents aren't perfect when you get married, and then you choose someone else, and then you see that your marriage partner isn't perfect, and you realize that you can't put it on anyone else. You've actually got to be who you are, and you've got to be strong in that. So in 13 Virgo, we get the strong hand supplanting hysteria. The strong hand, the person who can actually govern others, control hysteria, emotional passion, uncontrolled emotional passion. And some people can just say, be quiet, and everybody in the class, if this is school or at work, or a policeman or, whatever, you just obey, because this strong hand has supplanted the emotionality that you're bringing to the situation. And a really strong person can do that with a number of others behaving emotionally, overly emotionally. And this quality of finding the strength within yourself to enable you to do that is what is indicated in Virgo 13. Whereas Virgo 14 starts to get you to sort of see that your own family, the one that you're creating with your marriage partner, that's not ideal, that's real. And your parents, they weren't ideal, they were real. And these stepping stones lead you towards your ancestral awareness. What about your parents' parents? You idealize your grandparents because they were the ones that were always kind and loving, I hope. Not always true. But the grandparents tend to be more idealized than the parents, because the parents you see in their grubby reality more often. The grandparents only ever bring their best when they come and visit, and then they give you back when you start crying. And their parents, and all the way back, the ancestral family tree contains within it a huge amount of information about who you are now. The DNA has carried forward, and the qualities associated with the behaviors. And these grandparents and their grandparents and so on, they may not have registered as particularly successful or remarkable people. But in their times, they had different challenges to rise up to. In some cases, they actually held off starvation, and their main achievement in life was survival. And they couldn't separate from their partner, so they had to learn acceptance and dealing with difficulties in relationships, and seeing that the kids were growing up very, very quickly. Our own recent ancestors have seen an acceleration of consciousness like has never been before in human history. And that would have been a shock to them to see all of their children doing wild, wonderful things that they never did. So they had to cope with that in a way that we don't. So learning something about what the family tree tells us gives us a lot of information about who we are. And we can then start to reflect in Virgo 15, the heirloom, the handkerchief, the ornamental handkerchief which is passed down from generation to generation as an heirloom. This is giving us the sense of, well, our parents were this and that. They were good and bad. They gave us that, but they also gave us that. And you kind of see much more imbalance, that which is gifted as a resource and that which is gifted as a challenge are actually twin sides, opposing sides of the same gift. The difficulties that you had with your parents and perhaps your marriage partner are how you come to gain the benefits that they give you. Because you can't be given a quality, you have to earn it somehow. And even if you're born with the potential for a certain quality, you have to realize it. And in claiming it, the tests come to you. And so we're shown in this 15th degree how gracefully to embrace both the plus and the minus, the positive and the negative aspects of what the parents and the ancestors gave us.